There's 450 players in the National Basketball Association. You can't find 450 players on the planet better than Carmelo Anthony. I don't give a damn what anybody says. I don't give a damn what point he's at right now. There are not 450 players better than Carmelo Anthony. So I appreciate him making that point. And not to sit up there and to knock LeBron in any way, because it's not like LeBron has an obligation to do anything. Let's be clear about that. He's a player. He's not an executive. But Royce does make a valid point in this regard. That's your man. And LeBron James does have clout and cachet. Now, I happen to know that on several occasions, LeBron James, has spoken up on behalf of Carmelo Anthony. I happen to know on at least one or two occasions, the subject has been broached between LeBron and Carmelo Anthony. And obviously, LeBron was like, keep your head up, get yourself in shape, be ready to go, that kind of thing. But I think that what we have to appreciate, Max, is that where Royce White is coming from is LeBron James is the iconic brand in the basketball world. It stands to reason there is a significant level of clout that he has. When we see the money that Tristan Thompson got paid in Cleveland, when we see the money that J.R. Smith got paid in Cleveland, although it's L.A., it's not Cleveland, it's not beyond the realm of comprehension that there is some clout that LeBron carries. So if he's saying that LeBron should be able to get Melo on a team, I definitely think that that's plausible. The only thing where I jump off ship, and I think that Royce White needs to appreciate this, Melo is a career 24-point-per-game scorer. For the most part, he's been a number one option, with the exception of Olympic play. And to ask him to go from being a star to coming off the bench is bad enough. To ask him to go from being a star to ultimately playing 10 games last year, having his ego crashed, and then after that to bring him back and to ask him to be an 11th to 15th man, I think everyone has to consider that's what an executive is looking at. It's not whether or not Melo can play on a team, because anybody with sense knows he deserves to be on a 1 of 15 slot. The problem is you're asking him potentially not to be a part of that 9-man rotation and to be even lower on the totem pole. And there's no coach nor any executive that wants the caliber of player that Carmelo Anthony once was. You want to be in a position where you're looking down the sideline and that dude is riding the bench. You don't want to go through that with somebody like him. You'd rather not have him on your team than have him on the end of your bench. And that's the only part that I think that Royce White is missing in all of this.
Royce White's point does not make sense. Why doesn't Carmelo have a job? We didn't play the whole thing, obviously, but why doesn't he have a job? Is there this idea that there's a conspiracy out there to keep Carmelo Anthony, universally known as a very nice guy,
yes,
without work? Why? No, he doesn't have a job. This is why he doesn't have a job, because Carmelo is always with his own ego, unfortunately, because you can have a big ego and still be a nice guy when you've always been the focal point of every offense you've ever been on since you were born, basically. Of course, you're going to have an ego about your scoring, especially. Carmelo's been a day late and a dollar short with his own ego the whole time. First, he wouldn't accept the bench role when he couldn't start anymore. Now he's like, he comes and talks to you, Stephen A., and says, I'll accept the bench role. Well, good for you, Carmelo, but now you're not even talking about maybe a major role off the bench because you're old and the game has changed out from under his feet. Carmelo Anthony was an elite offensive player in a game that valued isolation play more. As the game has become more efficient, and by the way, he was really good also, underrated, I thought, at his best at finding the open man when he drew the double team and stuff like that. He's a really, really good offensive player, great offensive player. But the game has changed. It's much more efficient now. And Carmelo can no longer be the focal point, obviously, of a starting unit, but he also can't catch and shoot threes, and he can't play defense. So is he one of the – Royce White's absolutely right. He's one of the best 450 players in the world still, you'd have to imagine, unless overnight all of a sudden he forgot every skill he'd honed over a lifetime because he could score in every conceivable way. Mm-hmm. but he can't do it well enough to be the focal point. And in this new NBA, you have to be a specialist if you're not going to be that. He's not just not a good catch and shoot 3-point shooter. He's a bad one, and he's a bad defender. So what can Carmelo Anthony do at this point? Maybe he could be, as you said, the 10th guy, the 9th guy on your bench. But Carmelo's coming out and saying, I will accept the bench role. Carmelo, would you accept 15 minutes a game? And also, if you're a team...
I think at this point he would.
Okay, then he'll get it.
At this point he would.
Then my answer to Royce White, to whoever, to you, to whoever wants to say, if he'll accept that and he's not giving teams impressions that they're going to have to give him special attention, he's going to get a job.
But here's where I'm not saying, because you didn't say too much wrong there, but here's where I think you're being incredibly unfair to Carmelo Anthony. And I used the word
I don't want to do that. Go ahead.
I used the word unfair, and I told you this the day he did the interview with me in L.A. You keep ignoring the key pivotal point that he said. He said, no one ever asked me. No one ever came to me and had a conversation with me about coming off the bench, and I said no. It never happened. You talk, and I'm not saying you quoted him, but you talk as if Carmelo's a star. He's been a mega dude. He's been a star throughout most of his career. He didn't want to accept the bench role, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, he said, quote. They never said that to me.
He made public
and not
comments.
only that, hold on. He also said, hold on, Ross. He also said this. He said that when he went to Oklahoma City, what he appreciated about Billy Donovan is Billy Donovan sat him down and specifically outlined his role for him. So he really didn't have a problem in OKC because he was like, yo, my role was clear. That's not what they did for him in Houston. That's what he's saying. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you're saying that the Rockets did not put Melo in a position to be successful by not properly setting his expectations coming into that season?
I'm not saying it. Melo said it. He said it on national television.
But that's
exactly what he said.
But Stephen A., you're making my point about the ego.
Right.
Here's the thing. It's not like Carmelo's bad. He has a big ego. No. Right. It's that he was a superstar, so he has a superstar ego. Of course, that's how you get to be a superstar.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.